The Raiders are at a crossroads again. But this time, the warning didn't come from a front office leak or an anonymous source. It came from Jimmy Johnson, one of the most respected winners in football history, and the timing was impossible to ignore. Here's why this matters to you as a Raiders fan, or even just as an NFL fan watching power shift in real time. The Las Vegas Raiders are no longer just searching for another head coach. They are searching for an identity, and now two NFL legends are shaping that search from opposite angles. One loudly, one quietly. When Jimmy Johnson speaks publicly about a franchise, especially one he has no official ties to, it is never random. This is a coach who rebuilt the Dallas Cowboys from ashes, who understood how to tear something down to the foundation and rebuild it stronger. And when Johnson dropped that message under a photo with Tom Brady, the football world noticed immediately. Raiders looking at players and greatest college president in the country. That single sentence sparked conversation across the league. On the surface, it sounded like praise. Underneath, it felt like direction, almost like advice from someone who has seen this movie before and knows exactly how it ends when the wrong decision is made. The Raiders just finished a brutal 3-14 season in 2025. Not a competitive rebuild. Not a young roster learning on the fly. A collapse. A season where hope disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. Week 1 optimism turned into weekly frustration. And by the end of the year, the question was no longer who the Raiders would hire next, but whether they were capable of getting it right at all. Pete Carroll was brought in with championship credentials and veteran authority. The idea was simple. Experience would stabilize chaos. Instead, the season spiraled. Defensive identity never materialized. Offensive consistency never arrived. And by the end, the Raiders had once again pressed the reset button, firing Carroll and reopening a coaching search that feels painfully familiar to this fanbase. This is why Jimmy Johnson's message hit differently. It wasn't just commentary. It was context. Johnson knows what unstable franchises look like. He knows how many times you can change coaches before the problem stops being the coach and starts being the structure. His career is proof that leadership, vision, and alignment matter more than splashy hires. And now, Tom Brady is standing right in the middle of that decision-making process. Brady's role with the Raiders is unlike anything we've seen before. He is not just a ceremonial minority owner. He is not just a face for marketing campaigns. According to multiple reports, Brady is deeply involved in the head coach search, to the point where league insiders say he is leading interviews alongside general manager John Spytek. Let that sink in. The greatest quarterback of all time is now effectively helping decide who runs an NFL franchise from the sideline. Not as a consultant, not as a sounding board, as a decision maker. ESPN reporter Peter Schrager didn't mince words when he talked about Brady's influence. He said Brady is very involved, that he's playing a big role, and that his voice carries weight in every interview room. That changes everything about how this search should be viewed. This is not just another Raiders coaching hire. This is Tom Brady's first real stamp on an organization as an owner. And Brady does nothing casually. Throughout his career, Brady obsessed over details others ignored. Preparation, accountability, structure. He demanded alignment from ownership down to the practice squad. If something didn't match the standard, it was addressed immediately. That mindset is now being applied to a franchise that has spent years lacking consistency at the top. The Raiders have reportedly interviewed around 8 candidates already. Some are familiar names. Some are rising coordinators. Some are coaches looking for second chances. And that's where things get interesting. One of the strongest signals coming out of Las Vegas is that the Raiders may avoid candidates who are already chasing their second head coaching contract. That tells you everything about the direction Brady wants to take this. He's not looking for someone trying to rehab their image. He's looking for someone hungry, structured, and aligned with a long-term vision. CBS Sports analyst Tyler Sullivan pointed out that Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak could emerge as a serious option. Kubiak represents stability, system-based football, and adaptability, qualities the Raiders have lacked for years. But regardless of who ultimately gets hired, the bigger story is who is choosing. Tom Brady's involvement changes how coaches view this job. Suddenly, Las Vegas isn't just a risky franchise with high expectations and short patience. It's a team being shaped by someone who understands sustained success better than anyone in league history. And that brings us back to Jimmy Johnson. Johnson's message felt like a reminder, not just to fans, but to the Raiders themselves. Great franchises are built by leadership that understands both the locker room and the front office. Johnson won at Miami. He won in Dallas. He understood college pipelines, talent evaluation, and organizational discipline. When he praises the idea of leadership and direction, it's because he knows that without it, nothing else matters. The Raiders, as a franchise, know what winning looks like. Their history in Oakland is filled with dominance, swagger, and championships. But in Las Vegas, that identity has been lost. One playoff appearance since the move, constant coaching turnover, and a roster that never seems to peak at the right time. This next hire is about more than wins and losses. It's about whether the Raiders can finally break the cycle, whether they can stop reacting and start building, whether they can align ownership, management, coaching, and players under one clear philosophy. Brady's presence suggests that alignment is the goal. Johnson's message suggests that leadership is the key. Together, they represent two eras of football excellence pointing toward the same conclusion. The Raiders cannot afford to get this wrong again. Here's the part no one is talking about enough. This decision will define not just the next coach, but Tom Brady's legacy as an owner. If the Raiders stabilize, develop talent, and become contenders, Brady becomes more than a quarterback legend. He becomes a football architect. If it fails, the questions will come fast. And that pressure is exactly why this situation is so fascinating. Brady has never shied away from pressure. He thrives in it. The Raiders are betting that the same mentality that built a dynasty in New England can help rebuild one in Las Vegas. But rebuilding requires patience. And patience has not always been a strength for this franchise. That's why this moment feels different. Brady brings credibility. Johnson brings perspective. And the Raiders are standing at a fork in the road that will determine their future for years. So here's the real question you need to answer in the comments. Should Tom Brady be this involved in choosing the Raiders' next head coach? Or is this a risk that could backfire if the hire doesn't work out? Because one thing is clear. This is no longer just another coaching search. This is a power shift. And the entire NFL is watching to see what happens next.